It has been 20 years since the formation of the Kenyan Flower Council, and according to the organization, great strides have been achieved. But there is need to improve the shelf life, vibrancy and rate of package to stay competitive.
I've observed a great growth in quantity and quality of flowers that are being produced. And it is impressing more and more the world how good the quality of Kenyan flowers are. What could be improved in Kenya, to my opinion, is that growth in number of hectares that could still improve a lot, and that depends, of course, on the availability of liquidities.
Still, 40% of flowers sold to Europe come from Kenya. The country remains the second largest exporter of flowers after Ecuador, but managed to bring in record sales of $630 million compared to $610 million from the biggest exporter. However, the overall growth in production remains at 2% compared to her biggest competitor here, Ethiopia, currently witnessing a 20% growth.
Flowers are actually a key component of Kenya's economy, and they have earned Kenya over $500 million every year, in export revenue. And looking deeply into the flower sector, you find that Kenya is a lead exporter of cut flowers to the EU. This industry is so important to Kenya because it currently employs directly 90,000 people.
The Flower Expo has grown into a top Kenyan brand, helping market the country's produce. Last year, the Flower Trade Expo in Nairobi attracted 223 exhibiting companies and 2,700 people. And this year's event will see an increase of exhibition space by about 20% compared to last year. Soni Methu, CCTV, Nairobi, Kenya.
Well, let's find out more about Kenya's flower industry. Of course, ahead of that expo, we're joined now in the studio by Jane Ngige. She's the CEO of Kenya's Flower Council. Jane, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Now, of course, the flower industry in Kenya raked in about $600 or almost $600 million in 2014. Now, is the industry still earning the big bucks it has earned in 2013 and 2014? Of course, now with the fact that its biggest market, Europe, is facing a recession.
Very fortunately for the flower industry, when markets are facing recessions, this is when we get a boost in terms of demand, because what normally will happen is that people will cut down on their holidays and will spend a lot of time at home, cooking at home and eating at home, and therefore as they buy their groceries, they'll pick a bunch of flowers.
So what is your outlook then, especially for 2015? Of course, the number I gave was for 2014. How are we going to see the industry progress going forward? And I'd like to mention the fact that we're seeing the industry facing some changes now. Some analysts say that flower firms are actually moving to Ethiopia because Kenya's industry, is expensive. Right now in Ethiopia, they have cheaper land rates, cheaper labor rates, better tax incentives. What are your thoughts on that? And of course, how does that fit into your outlook?
What you actually have now is a mature Kenya flower industry, a mature industry that is currently #2 producer in the world after Ecuador. And therefore, what we're saying is Kenya may not need the kind of the subsidies you get in Ethiopia for it to continue to prosper. What it does need, however, is incentives such as efficient delivery of business facilitative services from the government. And for instance, if we could get the EPA signed off, the Economic Partnership Agreement signed off, that would quelch a lot of anxiety among the stakeholders in the business. If we could get services like VAT refunds expedited, if we could get double taxation off the radar, those kind of elements are what the flower industry really needs in Kenya to continue to grow, because we are in a good position at the international level.
And how far are we from seeing some of these things achieved? I mean, what are you looking to the regulators to do to improve Kenya's flower industry?
Well, the first thing you have to appreciate, or we have to appreciate for that matter as a country, is that we are now looking at huge volumes. We're looking at about 500 tons going out every day. And you're looking at them, like you mentioned, going to 60 different destinations, needing about 1,000 phytosanitary certificates. So what you need is an efficient system of ensuring that these services are available on the spot and when they're needed, particularly during the high seasons of Valentine's, which we've just been through, Mother's Days, which we're going through at the moment. So it just needs a coordinated effort between the industry, the government regulatory bodies, which we really need, and of course the markets in the destinations, who need to provide us with orders on time.
Now, of course, we mentioned Europe is one of your biggest markets. We talked about Russia, China as well. What are some of the new markets that Kenya's flower industry is looking to going forward?
Well, like you said a little bit earlier, Russia has been one of the latest markets. Unfortunately, it's going through the challenges with the ruble. So it's no longer a lucrative market as it was, but we expect it to revamp one of these days. In addition to that, we're looking to the US market, we're looking to grow the Japanese market, where we already have a strong presence. We've opened markets up in Australia and a couple of other countries. So we have expanded the business, we have expanded the destinations.
Well, thank you so much, of course, for those insights. Jane Ngige, the CEO of Kenya's Flower Council.